Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do the 2-point perspective. You have this available on your cheat sheet. So far, I have filled in some lines to the corners. You'll notice that from each corner, um, you're going to find that the lines extend. Let me go ahead and change that to a um, lighter weight, but from each corner, the lines extend to both perspective points. That is to say, if I look at this corner here, it's going to go to this one up here on the left and this one up here on the right. And these are construction lines that are going to help me when I add my object lines. So I'm going to go ahead and begin adding some object lines here. I'm going to start with this right face down here. When I look at it, I observe it in its isometric form. I see that it is the full width of this box, and if I look closely, it is 2/3 of its height. So I'm going to draw a line from here to here, and then I'm going to go up to what I guesstimate as 2/3. And then I want to come across here, but that line has to rest on a construction line. So I'm going to go in and change my color and line weight so that I represent the construction line. And then I can run a construction line out through that, and my object line will ride right on top of that. That way I know it's a line that's going to that vanishing point, hence it's in perspective. So I can use this to come across here and that to drop down. So that's my first face. That face is on there correctly. This line is, of course, going to go back that way. This line, of course, going back that way. And if I inspect there, I can find, if I wanted to start working on the front face is going to go 3/4 of the way to the back of the outside box, and it's going to remain 2/3 the height. So I can actually go ahead and fill that in. I am going to need a construction line to help me with the top of the box again. So I'm going to go ahead and add a line that's going to serve as the guiding line to give me the top of that, and then I'm going to go and guesstimate 3/4 along that line. So I would start here, and I would go to what I think looks like 3/4, which would be right there. This line is still perfectly vertical, and then that line's coming back like so. So it's nice I have two faces. I'm going to go ahead and put in the top face, which is an obvious face I can do. That top face is 1/2 of the distance from the front to, or the right to the left of the box, and 1/2 the distance from the front to back. So I'm going to add some lines to help me. I'm going to basically bisect the top of this object with both vanishing points. So I'm going to bisect it like that into this side and that side, and then I'm going to bisect it coming from the top right vanishing point. What I appear to looks about right there. Therefore, when I go ahead and add my object lines, I have the guide, and I know that all of my lines in this case are going towards the vanishing point. Okay, so I got my first 3 lines on, and now this is the point at which I really have to start to think. Dropping down over here, looking at this line, this is going to drop down 2/3. I know that line's going to be vertical, and then if I were to put this line in right in here, I can meet those lines, and I can just follow the constraints of perspective construction. So I'm going to go ahead and put a line to guide me from the upper left vanishing point to that point right there, and then I'm going to come over to where I'm directly below. So I'm actually just going to drop a line straight down from that to help me put the object lines in exactly. It saves a little time. I don't have to erase. This line is going to come straight down. Again, the question is how far? So it's going to come halfway. So I would think the easiest way would be to be able to put a construction line. Let's see, if I'm running off of the top right, I know that that would go to the halfway point of that. But I'd want to be on this line, the halfway point, which is going to be, I'm going to argue right there. By doing that, I can drop down from this point to that line, and then following that, it's going to go there, and then going this way, I can go until, well, I don't want to go that far, do I? So I'm going to have to add this line in here, which I'm marking on the lower left on the isometric. So in order to do that, I'm going to need a construction line. Which is going to guide my object line. I want to run a construction line from that point up to this one. And this object line then will go from there to there. And when I drop this straight down, all of a sudden I think that is done. It's not perfect necessarily. I'd certainly work on the computer makes it a little tough. I'd want to connect my lines a little crisper. But certainly I followed the rules and constraints of two-perspective drawing, which is a difficult thing, and that's, what is this? That's 6 minutes and 40 seconds. Please remember that I told you the first time I did this, it took me over 30 minutes. So not only is it a lesson in how to follow constraints when we are assembling something, but, going to take a little grit on your part. So good luck.